Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, we have another fascinating guest. On the show, we interview celebrities, entrepreneurs, business CEOs, multimillionaires, athletes, and artists to find out their keys to success, their path to success, and how they overcome challenges and adversity. And today's guest is definitely somebody who could add some value to that conversation because she's very, very good at what she does. She is a person that I've had the privilege of listening to speak, and every time she speaks, she is an absolute word craft. She's able to get people to really engage with her conversation, really listen to the stuff that she says because she's very good at what she does. She comes highly recommended, and it's an absolute joy to have her on my show today. She is a person who loves helping people transcend their personal and professional barriers with her coaching and her calm method. We'll ask her more about that, reaching more prosperity and getting the relationships to really transform towards the better and towards growth. She helps lots of ambitious entrepreneurs, people pleasers, and perfectionists to find that confidence to go out there and overcome the self-doubt and the fear to achieve more success and grow and become a person who is more impactful to the world as well. So she's very, very good at all that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very excited. She has the expertise. She's compassionate. She has the empowerment tools. So very, very excited. So please welcome international NLP practitioner, hypnotherapist, author, entrepreneur, speaker, your personal trainer for your mind, Ms. NIKKI GANGEMI.
Thank you, Fong. That was an awesome introduction. Thank you. I'm blown away.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Always a joy having you, and always a joy listening to you speak. And thank you for being here and sharing some of your wisdom, your value, and your time. But before we get to the hard and dirty questions, tell us your journey, your origin story. How did you become this amazing person who's able to help people really grow and improve themselves?
Well, I think that what helped me to do that best was having to grow and improve myself and had to, we learn through the experiences that we go through. So I started out very happy as a child, just loved to laugh. My dad captured it on a Christmas home video back in like 1983 when he says, Nikki, she loves to laugh. And that ended up changing when we moved from one town to another, and I went from Catholic school to public school. And that's where I started having a hard time fitting in and a hard time socially. And I just started making my focus on what wasn't working out for me and what was going wrong. And there was lots of limiting beliefs that I developed. And I chose to carry that well into my late 30s. So it was a process of learning and growing in therapy, years of it, 15 years on and off, and just really trying to get out of the prison in my mind, because that's literally what I felt like, that I was stuck in a prison. So I found acting as an escape because I got to not be me. I got to pretend to be other people. And I just love doing that. And I love making people laugh. When I wasn't acting and I was being myself, that's where there was a lot of discomfort and pain. So I went from having that dream of being an actress and pursuing it for all of 1 year after college. And I gave up on myself because I had those beliefs were so strong that I didn't have what it took and I wasn't good enough and I didn't belong and all these things. So it was really a transitioning for me and navigating those transitions, from something that had been a dream always to then settling into a dream that was somebody else's and becoming an elementary school teacher because that's what others wanted for me. And then playing the role because that's what I was trained to do, perform, right? So I performed the role of elementary school teacher. I did my job. I did it well, unhappily on the inside. Sometimes the kids noticed the unhappiness when I lacked patience, but I did that for 15 years. And yes, and then it was this awakening when I turned 40, and I thought by then I'd be married and have kids. And I was like in disbelief when I woke up one day and I'm like, how did I get here? I cannot believe I'm 40 and I'm alone and feeling lonely and I'm not doing what I wanted to do. So that's when I had that light bulb moment that I'm the only one that can help myself. And playing victim and pointing fingers it really hasn't been useful to me. So I decided I was going to resign from my job. I had already been introduced to coaching, and I said, I've spent my life working on myself and I've accrued and learned all these tools. Why not teach people that? Why not teach people how to help themselves and get out of their own way?
Hmm.
And then that's how I ended up in the coaching space that I'm in today.
That is awesome. Now, how did you decide to get into this space of coaching? Lots of people go into the investments, the real estate, and all this other stuff, but you focused on the self-development on with NLP and hypnotherapy and all that kind of stuff. How did you decide that path?
Well, my very first self-help book was Gary Zukav's Seat of the Soul, and I was 16 years old. So most 16-year-olds were not interested in that, but I was. And then it was Iyanla Van Zant. One day my soul just opened up, and I loved these books because they showed me another way of feeling and being. So then I became obsessed in a healthy way, and I was always reading those self-improvement books. And so that's kind of where the passion came. And so life coaching made the most sense. And then a friend introduced me to NLP. There was a Change Your Life weekend happening. And she goes, Oh, I'm going to come from Rochester to New Jersey and let's do this weekend together. It'll be fun. And I'm like, okay. And what I loved about it, this was going back this was 2020, actually. I made, at the end of the 3 days, I made a huge decision of signing up for their year-long program to become an NLP practitioner and hypnotherapist and then learn the business aspect of it. And this is going to sound very crazy probably because I don't know, how old was I? I was at least 40. And I made the decision because it was a big monetary price, and I had already quit my job. And I made it without consulting my mother first. And believe it or not, that was a huge deal. And I knew that this was the best decision I could make because I changed my behavior in just 3 days of being at that life-changing weekend. So I said, well, I can't wait to see what's possible after a year long.
I can relate. The first big ticket item that I got into, I didn't tell my parents either. I'm like, they're gonna think I'm crazy. And the second thing is, I was actually sitting there running the numbers. I'm like, okay, so this is the price they're charging. How many hours? Oh, that comes down to about $50 an hour. As I'm doing all that number crunching in my head, obviously, like, I'm engineering by trade. My girlfriend, who's still not my wife, she already went to the back table and signed up. I'm like, oh, I guess we're doing it. Um, you mentioned that you were an actress for a year. You pursued that dream for a short period of time. Yet you still talk about that journey. Now, lots of people go, you know what? I did this, I tried that, it didn't work. What a waste of time. For you, did you find that as a waste of time, or was there something there that allowed you to kind of hone in on that then was able to translate into what you do now? That you go, wow, I'm so happy that I took that 1 year to pursue that.
Yes, I am so happy I took that 1 year. So I was always involved in theater in school and community from the time I was a kid. The year was me moving from New Jersey to Los Angeles to pursue it, to get acting jobs. And that year was the best year of my life. And it's one of the only ones I would choose to relive because I was so sheltered. I mean, prior to moving out to LA, I was the person who would need somebody to come with me to go to Costco or Barnes and Noble because I was afraid to go anywhere by myself. I always wanted company. I always wanted the opinions of others. So, what drove me to make such a crazy decision for that kind of person was the guy I was dating for 5 years broke up with me. And I didn't know who I was without him. We had spent 7 days a week together. So I'm like, oh my God, who am I? What am I? What do I do? I'm moving across the country and I'm going to have my car shipped and I'm going to give acting a go. So while I was out there, I had to learn how to be independent. I had to learn how to even speak up for myself. That's when I learned how to do that, because I was so used to having people, like, oh, Nikki, she's this delicate, and they would take care of me, and there was nobody but me. So I really learned how to be an adult and take care of myself for the first time. So I would relive that year a million times, because it really helped me to grow so much. I learned a lot, and it was so much fun. I met amazing people, people in the entertainment industry. It was, and even that, like, I became comfortable with it. To sit and stand and have a conversation with Adam Sandler and Ben Affleck and feel like it's nothing. They're just another person. So I feel like it's helped me on so many levels. I would recommend it to everybody, whether you want to act or not. Go and do something like that that's outside of your box.
That is incredible. I was gonna reconfirm what you said about that's the time period that you wish you could live again and again and again. Because most people go, that is the hardest part of my life. That is a part of my life that I deem it a failure because I did not get to where I wanted to be. So I don't want to relive that again. Yet you're like, you know what? I would love to do that again thousands of times, which is kind of incredible because you notice the value of what that time period did for you. I'm sure that in acting, you've got went to auditions and you tried out and all kind of stuff, and you get rejected again and then again and again. Now, does it get easier? Does it get easier to get rejected over and over again?
That's a great question. And I think it has. I'm just like quickly reflecting back and this is fascinating, Fong, because rejection was a thing for me in the past, being rejected by friends and not really having friends and not having my first boyfriend until I was 18 years old. I mean, there was a ton of rejection, but I never saw the acting as a rejection. I just saw it as I wasn't a good fit for the part. And there was somebody that was better. And it's like, well, what would be a better fit part for me? And I'm just realizing this now as I'm answering your question. It's to me, it's fascinating that I didn't see that as rejection.
I see.
I
So
saw
at what point in time did you go, you know what? I need to do something else. Like what was it that made you feel that way that you need to try something else?
Well, I felt that I wasn't going to be able to make money at doing it. Honestly, I just listened to a lot of the suggestions out there that acting, it's a tough industry. It's who you know. You've got to get lucky. There's, these all these suggestions, and I listened. And there was this one day that I was doing some extra work on the set of the show City of Angels, and you sit around a lot and wait when you're an extra. And we were sitting in this circle, and this actor next to me said, extra actor said, if acting is not the air that you breathe, then go home. Because there are people coming in by the busloads that want it really bad. And you won't survive out here. And I took it quite literally. And I thought, it's not the air that I breathe. Maybe I don't want this as much as I think. And how am I going to survive this? And so when my lease was up at the end of the year, I just packed my bags and I gave up. And a part of me died on the inside, because it if I didn't want to. I
Hmm.
wanted to give it, more of a try. And looking back on it now, I had some amazing opportunities that I couldn't see because of those beliefs and where my focus was. So, had I stayed out there, given it, like my cousin, who helped me while I was out there, and he's in the industry as an event planner and caterer in the Hollywood industry. He said, Nikki, you need to give this 5 years and really get to know people and form relationships. He goes, do not go home after a year. And I didn't listen, and I did. So there was having to make peace with that too, because there was a lot of regret at one point.
Is there something that we could see you in?
No, not unless you pause a scene in well, it was City of Angels and then Boston Republic. I don't think that those shows are that are on anymore. But there was this like scene in the auditorium. They're playing basketball, and if you pause when they're panning over the bleachers, I'm in the audience cheering. So that's about the only thing you would see me in. There was nothing major that I got to be in, but like I said, there's so much that I learned. There's experiences that I had that I never would have had I stayed here in New Jersey.
Mhm. So then you took on a role for 15 years as a teacher. What in that
Yes.
period of life are you able to extract and go, wow, if I didn't do this, if I didn't do the 15 years, I wouldn't have this to build on.
If I didn't do the year, so the positive learnings that I
Yeah.
gained, yeah,
Dealing with kids.
dealing with kids. Oh my,
Patience. I guess patience is one of
I
them.
did learn patience. I absolutely learned patience. And I learned how to be flexible because you've got to modify and be flexible when you're working with kids, especially. And then I learned how to do that with myself because I was so hard on myself. And I think it was part of the journey. I'm so passionate now about helping people to to follow their own path and live on purpose instead of listening to other people. I feel so passionate about that because it was something that I didn't do. And then I took 15 years of my life doing that. That's a lot of time. Well, that's an opinion, but it's a decent amount of time to not be happy. And so yeah, and it's a funny story because I didn't want to teach. And my best friend said to me, let's be teachers together. We'll have summers off. It'll be great. And I'm like, no. And then I finally said, all right. So we go and we both take the exam to get licensed. And I pass, she fails. I become a teacher, she doesn't. And then I blamed her for a long time. I'm like, it's because of you.
And she's like, look who's talking. I'm not the teacher that I wanted to be.
Right, I know. So yeah, so that was and we're still best friends today. So, I said, you turned me into a vegetarian because you used to steal my pepperoni sandwiches when we were in grammar school together, and now I that's why I don't eat meat. No, it's a joke, but yeah.
So what was the straw that broke the back and you go, you know what, I'm not doing teaching anymore? Was it that one kid that finally did that one thing that pushed you over, or was it something else?
It's interesting. When I made the decision to resign, I made the decision in March and I finished out the year in June just so that they wouldn't lose their second
Mm,
grade teacher. Uh, I had some of the worst behavior problems of my career that year, but what made me make the decision was that number, that 40. I was like, how did I get here? How did I arrive at 40 and I'm by myself and I'm miserable?
mm,
This is what life is? Cannot be. So it was that. I say that it was an early midlife crisis.
mm.
And I was complaining one day at work, outside of work. I ran into a coworker at a coffee shop, and he's like listening to me, and then he's like, Nikki, why don't you just bloom where you're planted? And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I know it's significant. And then shortly after, I was dating a guy, and I was like, oh, he is my guy. Like, this is what I've waited a very long time for. And turns out he was the wrong guy, but he was there for a reason and a season. And he was the one that said, stop waiting for opportunities. You've got to pave the way. If there's something you want to do it. Speak in your living room. And suddenly I remembered that bloom where you're planted. And it just hit me like mindful matters. I am going to teach kids how to manage their emotions, how to know their worth, and how to change the thoughts in their mind so that they are not limited and held back in their
Mm.
life. So originally it was a mindfulness program for kids because that was my audience back then.
Well, fast forward a few years later, now you're helping adults overcome their
Yes.
anxiety, their challenges and whatnot.
Their
You're
self-doubt.
focused in the NLP and the hypnotherapy space as well. What are
Mhm.
some of the myths that you would like to break down for people that goes NLP, hypnotherapy, not for me?
Yeah, lots of myths. So we'll start with hypnosis. And what I want to say is, have you ever been really engrossed in a good book? And what you do is you suspend disbelief momentarily to forget that it's just ink on paper. yet it feels so real to you. And you actually get like feelings in your body. That's hypnosis. If you've ever binge watched Netflix and you're like, oh my God, 5 hours went by? How did that happen? You were in a state of focus and relaxation, and that's hypnosis.
Mm.
And finally, if you've ever driven somewhere and arrived and thought, oh my God, I'm here already? I don't remember half the drive. You were in a state of hypnosis. So we've all been in, it's a state like confidence and happiness. Another word for it that I prefer to use because there's less, there's less of a trigger is being in the zone. And that's a word they use in sports. You're in the zone. It's like you are focused and relaxed so that you're able to be resourceful and, make decisions.
So people aren't gonna turn into a chicken when they hear a bell ring or something like that, right?
Well, you gotta love Hollywood. Has Hollywood ever lied to you?
Of course not.
It's all for the show.
uh,
Yeah, there's
so is there a method where if I do hear a bell ring, I go, okay, I'm motivated, I'm fired up, I'm gonna get this stuff done.
well, there's anchors, right? Which happen naturally. Like you hear a song on the radio and it brings you right back to that time when you were dating that person.
Mm.
Somebody, let's just say, I mean, this is not everywhere, but in the United States, somebody gives you the middle finger and you respond, right? It's like an anchor, stimulus response. So yeah, you can give yourself a calm button. This is not hypnosis, by the way. It's a different tool, NLP. You could give yourself a calm button or a motivation button. And every time you press it, stimulus response, you drop into that state.
Mhm.
Pretty cool.
Oh, so with NLP, is that similar to hypnosis kind of stuff or not at all?
No, neuro-linguistic programming, it's learning how to use the language of the mind to get the results that you want. So there's a combination of conscious work and subconscious work, whereas hypnosis is just subconscious. You help people to relax, to get them into a state where the conscious mind is quote unquote asleep
Mhm.
and the subconscious mind is wide open to suggestion, which again is happening throughout the day anyway.
Mhm.
But with hypnosis, you're taking the suggestions that they want. That's going to help them to be a 2.0 version of themselves, let's just say. And you're helping to install those suggestions where the conscious mind can't reject it and say, nope, because it's very, the brain waves slow down to get to that really relaxed state. With NLP, it's a combination of both the conscious and the subconscious. So there's a lot of tools and exercises that's fun, and it's really designed to help you to open up how you see your life, how you see your world. A
Mhm.
lot of us have such a hold, like a grip on things that this is the way it's got to be. And when you can help somebody just let go a little bit and loosen their grip, now they can become more flexible in their thinking.
Now,
That's
with all that, I know there's people out there who goes, you know what, it still scares me. What if I get motivated to do something I don't want to do? Or what if I get convinced to do something that I don't normally think about? What do you talk to those people about to get them more susceptible to these methods and these programs to help them grow?
Well, that's a great question. I talk to them first because somebody has to trust you and has to be open to work with you. And what I tell them is you could put the best hypnotist in front of me and they wouldn't be able to make me become a smoker because I'm not a willing participant. I don't want to.
Mhm.
So he or she could say whatever they want and I wouldn't become a smoker. And so I say that you're a willing participant and what you see on the stage shows, the hypnotist is looking for people who are I'm the life of the party kind of person. I'll do anything for a laugh. They're hand selecting certain people so that when they snap their fingers, they'll start acting like a chicken because it's like the attention and they're going to do anything for a laugh. They pick certain people for a reason.
Mhm.
So yeah, I talk with people and then I do little what we call them like fun experiments where they have to know that it's safe. And yeah, so we just kind of talk through it, and usually people will relax a little. And for those who don't, because we don't use hypnosis. I actually end up doing maybe 90% straight up NLP and other coaching tools and not even using hypnosis because a lot of people just are not comfortable with it.
Mhm.
And that's okay because it's just one tool in the tool belt. There's different tools you can use to create change.
Right. Very, very fascinating stuff. I know lots of people out there who are perfectionists. They believe they can't start anything until it's perfect or until they know everything. I'm not going to invest in real estate until I know every single thing about real estate. Then I'll go look at real estate. Or I'm not going to launch this product or this service until I know 100% everything that's going to happen before I put it out there. How do you help people overcome that mindset?
It sounds like you're talking about an older version of me. I have struggled with perfectionism. And I was that person before leaving my job. About maybe 2 years before that, I heard somebody say in another coach who was running a Facebook group, and I was in it. And she said, you've got to just take a leap. You've got to just resign from your job. And I thought, are you out of your mind? I don't have a husband. I'm by myself. I've got a mortgage to pay. I've got responsibilities. That's what I was saying. I was not willing to do it until I learned I had to really change the mindset and change the way of thinking, which is what these tools help you to do. Um, and now I'm trying to remember the question you asked me because I digressed.
How do you help people who are perfectionists to overcome that thought of, hey, I need everything perfect before I do it?
Yes, because I was waiting to have all my what I called my ducks in a row. First get married, have another income coming in and all these different things. So how that ended up changing was really just getting into the present moment. I say that mindfulness has been my ticket to mental freedom because then I can't be in the past, like, I wish this didn't happen and regret and all that, or future worrying. And so the more you can practice being present in the moment, that's where you realize that 99% of the time you're okay in the present. Like right now, we're just enjoying a very nice conversation. Life is good in this moment, right? And even if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably okay if you can sit and listen to this conversation, right? So that's the first thing. And then it's just focusing on what's the very next step. Because if we get too far ahead, that's where we get those anxious feelings and we get into overwhelm.
Mhm.
So that's one way. And then just being willing to let go of control. Because a lot of times with perfectionism, there's this need to control and have an outcome be a certain way. And we don't have control really. Draw a circle around your feet and your control is what's inside of it, you and what you choose to focus on.
I find that very fascinating because you said we don't really have control, yet we control our minds, what we think about. Then, yeah, we may not be able to control everything that happens around us, but it's our mind that we need to control as to how we view those things or how we interpret that information.
Right.
You talked about being mindful freedom. And are there certain things that people can do on a daily basis? And I'm sure this is part of your calm book and your calm method and all that kind of stuff. But how do people get there with maybe daily exercises or daily things that they can do to get closer to that mindset?
Yes. So this is what I tell people. Take what you're already doing and optimize it. So when you're brushing your teeth, just brush your teeth. Use your five senses and zoom in to the very act of brushing your teeth. You know, look at the toothpaste. What color is it? And when you start brushing your teeth, what side of my mouth am I starting on? Like, have you noticed that? Do you start, on the left or the right? The flavor of the toothpaste. So it's like using your five senses and just be present to that activity. Making a cup of coffee, folding the laundry, making the bed, driving in the car, taking a shower. We have lots of opportunities throughout the day. So we're not adding anything into our day. We're just being more present and using our senses to experience those things. And as you start to do that, you start to train your mind to slow down just a little bit. And that's where you become more responsive to things in life rather than reactive.
Mhm. So you're saying not watch TikTok while listening to the radio and brush your teeth at the same time. That's a no-no.
Correct. That's yes. Cut out the multitasking.
All right. Now, I'm sure there's people out there who's going, okay, I'm going to give this a try. But man, that mental battle of
Oh
this
yeah.
person saying this is stupid, and this person, no, we got to try it, and this person saying, no, just the flavor is so awesome, and it's like, what are you talking about? It's peppermint. It's always been peppermint. How do you do that internal battle? How do you shut this person up?
Yeah, that it takes time. It's a practice and it's a constant just reminding. So what I'll tell people is start small. I'll say something that I did. I used to go to Kripalu. It's a yoga retreat center in the Berkshires, Massachusetts, and they would have silent breakfast, no phones, and you just had to sit there and eat. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I mean, I'm just gonna sit here and eat. I can't listen to a podcast or read a book or talk to anybody or just like scroll through social media. And I loved it. It was just, I took an hour to eat breakfast each morning. And it was on a lake, and I look out the window, and there was such peace in that because I wasn't thinking about all the things that I had to do. I just had to sit there and eat. So what I would say to people who are like, whoa, this is now this is out of control, what you're asking me to do. What I would tell people is just start with the first bite. Make your first bite a mindful one. Make your first sip of coffee or tea one where you're just like zooming into what does it taste like and what does that warmth feel like when it goes down. Small little tiny steps.
That is very, very
And then
cool.
you could scroll on TikTok. Just make your first sip a mindful one.
I've also found that you have this amazing energy about you. When you show up, you brighten the room. When you show up, you have this energy that everybody goes, "Wow, I feel better. I feel uplifted." How do you maintain that energy? I know you had the whole being mindful of being present, but on a daily basis, what else do you do? Is it diet? Is it exercise? What do you do?
Well, thank you first. That is such a wonderful compliment. Thank you, Fong. It's a combination, definitely exercise. I joined this new gym, the Max Challenge, and it's one of the best gyms. They make a lot of fun in working out and a lot of high fiving. So we talked about anchoring before. So, we did this one exercise where we were doing sit-ups like feet to feet. And as you were coming up, you had to, hit hands with the person in front of you. And we were doing it and we were laughing. And what happened was sit-ups are fun because that was an anchor. So now, yeah, so working out and just having that movement, right? And that you start to feel strong in your body. Another thing I do every day is meditate. I love meditation.
Mhm.
And so I love the app Insight Timer. That's an app that I use that has tens of thousands of free meditations you could listen to. And again, even just for a few minutes a day. And for those who say, I don't have time to sit down and meditate, you don't have to, because you can just choose to take your shower and just be in the shower without having a conversation in your mind about what you're going to say to that person later when you see them. And you're just like, oh, I can smell this shampoo. It smells good. I mean, there's so many opportunities
Mhm.
to be in the moment. So yeah, meditation, reading. I read every day. I love reading. And usually it's like a personal growth book that I'll read. I just loved, right now I'm reading Stacy McPherson's Happy Life Results. I mean, I just love to read books that open up my mind and also are reminders for how to, play this game in a better way, this game of life. So those are some habits that help me.
Are you a type of person that looks at the news a lot then?
Never. Um, yes, and I've taken a hit for that. People don't like to hear that, but I'm okay with that. I, I
So
don't choose to watch the news, period.
So that's something I do as well. Like somebody sent me an article about, oh, there's a shooting here. Oh, there's a shooting here. What's the world coming to? Blah blah blah. I'm like, honestly, I didn't know about it because I don't pay attention to the news. But then you have people go, well, how do you keep up to date with what's going on? So
Yes,
I'll ask you
okay.
that question. It's like, how do you know what's going on out there?
You know what? Through having conversations with people. I do a lot of networking. I talk to a lot of people. All I have to do is call my grandmother, and I'll know about every murder, every bad robbery, every bad thing that happened because that's what she likes to report, the news. So if something is happening, and when I say to my grandmother or to other people, is that if there's not something that I can do, if I can't do something or I'm not going to do something, then what's the purpose of consuming it? And then repeatedly listening to it over and over again.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so I feel like if there's information I need to know, then I'll hear it from somebody that I'm having a conversation with.
Now with news, that could also mean like negative feedback or negative comments about videos or about what you do and all kind of stuff. How do you differentiate negative feedback versus feedback that you're able to grow with?
Oh, like constructive
Yeah.
criticism, like that.
Like, at
I
what point do you go, you know what? There's some truth to that, or oh, that's just BS. I'm not gonna listen to that at all.
Yeah, I think the intention matters. Like when somebody's giving you constructive criticism or feedback, their intention is to help you to grow. And I think you can sense that from somebody and you can feel it. Versus somebody that's maybe just, if they're right, like comments on social media, for example. And what I've learned to do with that is just to ignore it and just to send the person some love. Like they must be in a bad place today
Mhm.
and unhappy. And I just, send some positive vibes that they, get to a place of peace within themselves. That was just another outlook that I learned. Because if we take everything everybody says, and we'll never please everybody, we just won't put ourselves out there. That's what I did for the longest time. I was afraid to do a live video. My first live video on Facebook, I had to have a glass of wine first to relax myself because I was like, what if somebody says something about me?
Mhm.
What if they say something mean? And then it was always a reason. I would be like, oh my God, I need a new wardrobe. I can't go on the cat, or I can't wear this same outfit 2 weeks in a row, like things like that. So I had to just be okay with what people are going to think because it's just an opinion. And speaking of judgment, judgment is neutral because we need judgment. That's how we can walk across the street safely.
Mhm.
We've got to make a judgment, you know. Is it okay to cross right now? So I do a lot of reframing. I've become the queen of reframes. Give me something and let's just reframe it so we could see it in a different way.
I can still relate with that. My very first video, I had so much thoughts in my head. I'm like, oh, should I press it or not? Should I post it or not? All that, it's so much anxiety was going in my mind before I even posted that video, only to realize nobody cares. One view.
You, right. And it was my mother.
It was myself. I clicked on it. Ah, okay. This question just came up in my mind because of what you were sharing about judgment is important. You've worked with kids before and you had a great experience as to helping them grow. In today's day and age, right now, there's lots of talk about how much adversity kids can handle because you hear, oh, this person's called them a bad word, or this person said something or made fun of them. Now that person needs to go into counseling and all kind of stuff, which may or may not be overboard reaction to something like that. How do you work with parents who are overly concerned about what their kids are facing on a daily basis?
hmm Thinking of my sister right now because she just sent her firstborn off to daycare and she's very afraid. It's like I'm leaving him. Is this gonna traumatize him that I dropped him off somewhere unfamiliar and left him? And um, so what I say to her and what I say to others is we learn and grow through adversity to try to protect. I mean, that's something that my parents did, more specifically my mom, just very overprotective, and in thinking she was protecting me, um, it does end up stunting you. It's like the story of the boy who wanted to help out the butterfly inside of the cocoon. And
Mhm.
he went and grabbed a pair of scissors and cut it open to help the butterfly come out of the cocoon. And it died minutes later. And the mom explained to him that it's when when it pushes through the cocoon that the blood is able to flow into its wings and then it's able to fly away. So we think we're helping people and we're really not all the time, because the way that they become strong and grow is by pushing through the obstacles and finding the opportunities and finding their way. And that's where they really become empowered people, humans.
Great, great comments, great feedback to parents. I mean, I feel for lots of teachers nowadays because they face so much adversity from not only the parents' side, but the kids and other teachers as to how to navigate through these waters. And it's not an easy task.
It's not. And I was there because I did it for 15 years. And I think what we can do to help is to teach them how to ask better questions. Instead of making those just assumptions and those dead end statements, like let's say they do poorly on a test and they're like, I'm not smart. Okay, dead end statement. Where do I go from there? It's teaching them how to ask a question like, well, what's one thing I did well? It's like we're trained even in school. Do you get your test back and you can't wait? And the first thing you do is you look for the X's and the circles. And when I taught third grade, because I taught a couple of different levels, the teachers were like, we're no longer using red ink because that is negative. We're going to use purple. And I didn't say anything, but I thought to myself, eventually, purple is going to be a negative anchor. Doesn't matter the color. So you were kind of trained to look for what's wrong, where did I fall short and how can I get better? So I think a lot of it is just it's talking with the kids, it's having conversations, and it's letting them feel seen and heard. If they feel a certain way, let it, it's okay. Just teach them how to process it. It's okay to feel disappointed or upset. We just don't want to stay there for too long because, is that useful?
Mhm.
So it's just teaching them. There's lots of tools. Breathing is the easiest one to do. I used to do some four square breathing with the kids in school. And then when they were taking a test, I'd watch them making a square on their desk or on their lap. And I see them like breathing in and holding it at the top. And well, I would say, smell the flowers and blow out the candles. And that's how I taught them how to breathe mindfully. So, talk with them. They're adults in little bodies, and
Mhm.
they could reason with them. You can talk and share stories with them rather than telling them what to do or how to feel. Tell a story and let them come to their own lesson. It's like the book The Little Engine That Could. If we told a 5-year-old that they needed to be persistent, they could reject that and first of all say, what's that mean? But you tell a story about a train that kept going, I think I can, I think I can. And then they get the brain just kind of makes the connection and they get the message and the value.
Very, very good. Um, my final formal question to you is this: You're back on the world stage, you're a speaker, you help lots of people succeed. What would be your one message for everybody to kind of anchor themselves to so that they will be successful?
Mm. One message?
One message. You had a lot of message throughout the entire
Yes,
time
I
that we
did.
spoke,
And
so
this would be my message. And that is that you have everything that you need inside of you. You are good enough as you are. And now you just get to show up and shine your light and be courageous to do that.
all right, great words to live by. I know you're a busy person, but this time has gone through very, very fast. But I got five quick rapid fire questions for you. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right. Stranded on a desert island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence.
Pizza.
Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, we love your story. We missed our chance to cast you in something, but we would love to do your life story. Nikki, we're gonna have you play you, but who would you cast to play your best friend?"
Oh, Susan Sarandon.
All right, Susan Sarandon shows up at your door and says, "Hey, I got casted to play your best friend. Let's hang out." And you go, "No problem, Susan. I got the whole night planned out for us." What does that like look like?
What does the night look like? Oh, dinner at a fancy restaurant and drinks by a Fireplace. Sounds
Susan's
like I sounds like I should be there with my husband.
like, Susan's like, oh, I don't feel like going out. Lots of paparazzi, people taking photos. Let's stay in. And you go, don't worry about that too. I got a wonderful dish I'm going to cook up for you. What would that special dish that you can provide or make up?
Eggplant parmesan.
Sounds awesome. Um, one song to listen to over and over again on a long car ride without getting tired of it.
Oh, I'm unstoppable.
Good choice as well. And my last question, give me a number from 1 to 5.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So if you had to relate success to ornaments, how is ornaments a metaphor for success?
Oh, wow. How are ornaments a metaphor for success? Every ornament is beautiful in its own way. It could really stand out as this like amazing ornament with all the glitter and the size and the sparkle. But then you've got those ornaments that are, more like homemade that maybe you made in preschool of yourself, and we treasure those so much. So it doesn't matter the size or the shininess or anything. Success is just any time you show up and you feel happy and you feel good within, that is success. It's always available to us.
Nicely done. So that's how success is like ornaments. Thank you again for your time. It's been a pleasure. Any final words from you? And how do people get in touch with you? Either getting your book, your coaching. What's the best way?
The best way would be to go to my website, which is my name, nikkigangemi.com. The book is on there. My contact info is on there. I love to connect on social media. For when you're not having those mindful meals and you're scrolling, you can find me Mindful Matters LLC or my name, Nikki Gangemi. And the final words is to let life be easy. It's a choice and it can be. Hit that easy button more often.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Everybody, make sure you connect with Nikki. Once again, she's Nikki. My name is Fong. Until next time, today is the day to lock the peak potential. We'll see you later.